Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, everybody. It's Memorial Day. I hope everybody will be headed out for some hamburgers and hot dogs and other things and the cookout and whatever else is going on today. Maybe seeing family. I did that Saturday night, but maybe you have already had some fun this weekend as well. But hey, let's hang out this morning and let's work on game design. It's good to see everybody. Welcome to my home. Welcome to the office here and welcome to the morning grind. Because this is a cultist themed stream, we're streaming in a whole bunch of different places today. We're going out on the Heath's Geekverse channel, which is where the morning grind show is typically live. But hey, we're also streaming in on Facebook, and I just shared the stream to the Cultists fan group there. So hopefully some people will see it there and come on in. And then, of course, also on the Cultists YouTube channel, which has all of season 1 up. And now so we're streaming over there as well. So maybe some new people have been watching the Cultists over there. Hey, I'm wearing the Cultist coffee shirt. That's a good one to have right now. And that one, that was going to be, I'm bringing this shirt back because this will be on the next Cultist Kickstarter, the Kickstarter that we've got here. In fact, I want to take a look at that here in just a moment because the page was approved. So I'm going to show you what has been built out, at least. I got that notification yesterday. So, yeah, the Cultists mockumentary web show. It was not yesterday. We looked through here and it was not set up yesterday, but now it is. So we are approved. Let's see here. Good morning, James. Good morning. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Good morning, Lynn. Who else have we got? The great old ones have showed up. Greetings to the great old ones. Welcome. BGD is here. PH is here. Yesterday, we had a fantastic conversation working on this game design. We're working on a cultist RPG, and we are getting close to the end here, but we're polishing a lot of things up, which I think is improving this dramatically. And everybody's comments and suggestions were really good yesterday. And I think I understand some of the directions that some of the problems that we were having. I think I thought about yesterday, and we can fix here. So hello, Jason. Hey, good morning, Andrew, and good morning, Mike. Oh, no. BGD says, don't forget to like this Memorial Day, help Heath out in channels, wherever you're watching. Yes, thank you. So wherever you happen to be, whichever one of the sources or the destinations of this stream, please hit. Andrew says, have you set up the notify me on launch page yet? I have not, because I wonder if now I would be approved to do it. You can't do that until Kickstarter approves your project. And I just got an email last night saying that it was approved. So I might be able to turn that live. We'll look here in just a moment, but I have something else as well. Hey, first of all, BGD has been telling us about Rune Jammer, the Rune Jammer convention. And I want to bring that up here because I wanted to talk about that here because the Rune Jammer is something that's going on. I believe I have the main page. BGD can fix this or send me the right link if I have the wrong link. But I believe this is the main link here for this. Rune Jammer. This is the completely free round-the-clock online role-playing games from the Runehammer fan community. And, of course, this is part of the ICRPG, the index card RPG that we've looked at on the Morning Grind before. Or this is where you can go and play that as well. It looks like other games as well. But this is starting on July 19th. So let me put the link to the schedule in the comments here. Link to schedule for Rune Jammer. So let's see here. So this is something that is starting Friday, June 19th. And it looks like there is already a really nice schedule of different games that are going to be played. So when you click, I was looking through this a few minutes before we got on here. Like, here's an index card RPG. ICRPG on Hot Springs Island. That's at 1400 Eastern Daylight Time. Oh, did I say something wrong? It is July. Friday, June 19th, starting in July, right there. I might have messed up when I said that. So I was looking at how this works. So ICRPG on Hot Springs Island, if I click there, that tells me that, okay, 14 to 1730, I believe that was Eastern time. Hot Springs Island is a hex crawl, sword, and sorcery adventure set in the steaming jungles of a fantastical tropical island. Make friends or enemies with pirates, lizard folk, abyssal horrors, and elements as you try to get rich and uncover the dark horror of Hot Springs Island. No RPG experience is necessary, and if you survive, keep your character for the next expedition. Just keep in mind the island always gets its turn. This can be played using Discord. Okay, I was wondering what type of software this does. Played using Discord for voice optional video communication using Owlbear Rodeo as our VTT. We looked at Owlbear Rodeo on here as well. So that was a lightweight VTT hosted by Death Bear. So how do you... Oh, it says sign in or log in to save this to your schedule, view media, and leave feedback and see who's attending. So you might have to sign in to something to actually say, all right, I'm to register for one of these events. But this goes on for several days. I mean, look at this. So this begins in July 19th, July 21st. Let me make a note of something. Okay. 23rd, 24th, 25th. Frost Haven in Flames. What is that? Making your way through a treacherous mountain pass, you see the oasis of Frosthaven ahead. Unfortunately, it's surrounded by a thick black smoke. Can you get there in time? Oh, so this does say index card VTT, which we've also looked at. Index card RPG Alfheim. So check this out. I'm going to. It looks like a lot of fun. So thank you for letting us know about this. Oh, I just got it. Okay. Here is just the main web page for it. BGD just sent me that through Discord. So RuneJammer registration is now open. Let's take a look at this. RuneJammer is back in 2024. Our round-the-clock online role-playing game event from July 20th to 27th is hosted by the fans of Runehammer Games, publisher of the index card RPG Crown and Skull and DM Scotty's Easy D6. RuneJammer is completely free to play, open and welcoming to all, broad in RPG scope and fun, extremely fun. Our events include the full lineup of Runehammer RPG systems offering in over 70 games, game sessions hosted by our special guest GM, Easy D6, and author DM Scotty. Raffle prizes courtesy of community members. So there we go. So there, I'm going to put this link down here as well. Here's the main link if you want to check that out. All right. So there we go there. So I do over here. Let's go over here to this Kickstarter page. So the project has been approved. Everything is not completely finished on this page yet. Here, let's preview. I've got to make the videos. I've got to put up the links to the material for the play test and beta and things like that. And then I've also got to load in. Once I get the costs of all the different products, I can put the costs of the different pledge levels and things like that on here. But this is what we made. Brianna was helping with the graphics. So the Cthulhu, the Cultists, a Cthulhu comedy, RPG, and mockumentary web show, gaming in the world of modern-day Lovecraftian cultists just trying to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who don't understand. Yeah, this project is not live. This is just the draft view we're looking at. The Cultists is a comedy mockumentary web series about a group of modern-day Lovecraftian cultists who just want to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who don't understand. And now it has a role-playing game, which we're going to be working on that more in just a second. So we say, you know, I love that image she put together. And this cover here is that's designed by Adam Botsford. He's the one who illustrated the Goodnight Sword book. So the cover is done by Adam Botsford. I was very glad to have him back. So I'll put together a game trailer and put that in here. And then like we'll do a little how to play in 5 minutes. I really like the how to play in 5 minute videos. So once we have everything, I'll do a quick how to play. I think how to play videos are fantastic anyway, because it gets you out of the rule book. I mean, a lot of people don't play games, or a game never gets off the shelf, like because, okay, the rule book can be a thing, but video, I think, is a great way to teach games. We will put our playtest and beta material right there. We got a section on what is the Cultists. So we made that up. I embedded the trailer for the Cultists. So the pledge levels, this graphic is not finished because, and pay no attention to any of these numerical values over here. But we got the Cultist RPG digital PDF, virtual playing cards.io set up. We'll set this up virtually. Early access to the Cultists on YouTube. Early access to the Cultist Season 2 on YouTube. That'll be a base pledge. And then everything just adds. So the Cultist RPG physical soft copy book. We will add on the scripts here, the next for Season 1 and Season 2. And then I'm working on a player's pack as well. So there's still a few things to do here. And I was looking at some of the print-on-demand options for board gaming. And then we're put on the vinyl sticker pack, and then which include things like the Cultist coffee, and then one of the shirts, and then all three of the shirts, and then everything here. And so our shirts are going to be the Cultist coffee logo, which I'm wearing right now. Love that shirt. Very classic for the morning grind. The Witch's Brew logo shirt. All hail the Black Goat of the Woods. And thank you, Mama Shub. Oh, and how not to summon Cthulhu. You can't summon Cthulhu with sour cream and onion. So we will have those shirts up here. mean, there we go. I think it's going to be a pretty nice looking page. It just needs some numbers. I got all of our crew here as well. So, you know, there's me, there's Brianna, Brennan, our director of photography, Carol. Yeah, she's a werewolf. She turns into a werewolf. So that's our production manager and photographer. Megan, you probably recognize from Dinner and a Board Game. Kenna, Adam, there's our illustrator here. And I put the rest of the cast on there as well. So I think it's a nice looking page. Let me actually see, now that it's approved, if I can put up that, like Andrew was just saying. Let's see. That show, I think, would be prepare to launch promotion. We'll use your current project title to generate a URL. Even if you change the title later, the URL will stay the same. Your page won't go live until after you launch. Okay, let's go ahead and generate that. Okay, I can't change it, so that's kind of long. But the Cultists, Cthulhu Comedy RPG and Mockumentary Web Show. Yeah, that's fine. Pre-launch page. Download social badges and Kickstarter logos. Okay. I'll do that later. Activate my page. Okay, so we've got a link, and then let's say activate my page. Activate. Hey, well, I'll put it in the comments. Hey, Sable. Hey, Sable. Well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I have got to be in greater touch with you guys. Maybe we can do something in the coffee shop for it. So good morning, Sable. Andrew says, guilty as charged about having unplayed games on the shelf, unread books and comics as well. I know. And by the way, I am doing terrible at reading. I got to read today. I got to work on this game today. I got to clean the house. I got to cut grass, and I got to read so we can prepare for the Table Talk Season 2. Thank you. Thank you. And a lot of the graphics are thanks to Brianna. So right here. So this is the Kickstarter sign up. Notify me page. So I guess we need to be talking about that now. The Kickstarter. See if that works. See if that goes over there. I'll put this over in the Discord server as well. Oh, it must have. Andrew says signed up. So let's see. I'll just put this in the morning grind. Link to the Kickstarter notify me page. I'll put it on the Cultist RPG sign up page, notify me page. So that is up now. So we now have that. I'll put the Discord link here as well. We're not ready to launch yet, but so sign up for the notify me. But there's still several things we got to do before we actually launch. And I want to make sure that we actually spend maybe about 3 weeks actually in active promotion. Of course, we're talking about it here on this, but actually about 3 weeks in active promotion. Try to reach out, do some other like shows cross promoted on different YouTube channels, something like that. So maybe about 3 weeks of intense promotion and then go live for about 3 weeks. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And then hopefully by then, basically all of the products will be finished and we can fulfill rapidly. I don't want it to hang on. The shirts, I got the shirt printer I've got to reach back out to, but a shirt printer to get the shirts printed. I'm planning on shipping and fulfilling everything myself. I got the different size boxes from the flat rate shipping. It's gonna be flat rate shipping for the different reward levels, and that's gonna make it really easy to fulfill. And I'll have everything here, and I will pack them up myself. That is the plan anyway. So there is that. But actually, also one of the things that we're going to be promoting in about that 3 weeks. I've already got this page set up over here, but right here. Yeah, there we go. So before this gets going in about 3 weeks, I'm going to put this out on Facebook, YouTube, different social media as well. That I got all these dice to give away to go along with this. If you're not signed up here, dice giveaway. This dice giveaway is going to be part of the promotions, but I got to finish everything first. All right. So that is where we are. That's where we are. So that's good. We are getting closer. I'm really hoping that this does a lot for us and starts to get a whole bunch of other things underway here. Because I tried launching the Cultists before. And we didn't get the traction, or at least I wasn't able to be in contact with everybody who had watched the show and stuff like that. I didn't get the kind of traction that I really needed to get in order to keep us going. So that's why I was like, all right, we're starting from the beginning again. We're starting from the beginning. There are lots and lots of projects to do, and we're just going to be working through them. But we're starting with this one. And that's why I also designed it to be a lot of print on demand shirts. We're not having to go for overseas manufacturing. We're going to do it. We're going to launch, and we're going to get it done. All right, let's do a breathe and sip. Let me take that down. And then we're going to go over to our rules. Oh. All right, got the rules up. Everybody, got your favorite beverage this morning? Oh, man, I'm wearing the Cultist coffee shirt, and I've got the Witch's Brew mug. All right, perfect for this morning. So let's do a breathe and sip. If you are new here, we're going to take 2 deep breaths. This is the mental health portion of the show before we get into our main topic. 2 deep breaths, in through the nose and then out through the mouth, and then take a sip of your favorite beverage this morning. All right, so here we go. Breathe in. And sip. All right, excellent. All right, let's look at this. So yesterday we were talking about the meta currencies, courage, sway, and troubles, and those checks, and we're making a lot of progress there. But I realized, there was some concern about the way some of these different things worked, and I realized that if we're working through this basically through the book from the beginning to the end again. And then we're really into the major mechanics of the game. This is a very lightweight RPG. It's based on the low stakes RPG, which was designed by Craig Campbell and put out by Nerdburger Games. He specifically designed it to capture the feel of a comedy mockumentary in a role-playing game form. And we thought, oh man, this would be perfect to adapt to the Cultists. That's what we've been working on doing. But I think not only are we doing an adaptation here, but based on all the work we're doing, I think we actually have improved it and moved this kind of role-playing game forward. I think so. I'm very proud of that. So yesterday I went back through all of the beginning and read through the entire thing from the beginning to the point about adjudicating actions that we were in. And I made some adjustments to clarify some different things, but not big things, but made some additional points of clarification in here, specifically regarding the lead. Because the lead character, we were talking about meta currencies, which we're about to get back to, but we hadn't talked about the lead because that was an earlier part of the book. But the lead character is the person that character who takes the lead in the start of the film, in the start of the scene. Every scene has a different lead character that kind of makes this about them. And okay, the lead character begins the game with Sway, but after the first scene, Sway is going to rotate among the players according to its own rules. So I made it clear when you're reading about the lead player does not have sway. He or she has priority in making sway checks in a scene. And then what happens because that's a big deal, because how can you get sway, which is going to give you a lot of bonuses? If you're the lead character, you have the priority in making a sway check in a scene if you would like. And I think we need to say that there can only be one successful sway check in a scene. So I read back through all of that, and then where I was back to adjudicating actions. So this is basically where we were, but I thought that we should start at the top of this. And make sure that this says everything that it's supposed to say regarding what these things are, because I think that was part of the confusion. I introduced them. I was trying to improve upon the organization of the low stakes game. But as I was doing an adaptation, of course, a lot of stuff was getting, moved over. How are things organized and sorted over there? But I thought that the organization could be improved. And after reading through yesterday, I'm like, okay, we still have some of the old organization that doesn't put all the information you need in the right paragraph. So let's try to get through the checks. I think that this right here. Okay, let's go. So here's adjudicating actions. Although the majority of the game can be managed through spontaneous improvisation, with players exercising their own judgment to determine the success or failure of the endeavors, there are lots of circumstances where players use simple rules to adjudicate whether or not important actions are successful. The rules also provide a structure to inject complications and humor into the game. To do this, the Cultists RPG uses 2 meta currencies, courage and sway, as well as checks, headaches, and asides. Okay, so the 2 meta currencies are the Cultist RPG uses 2 meta currencies to manage the game, courage and sway. So here's what courage is. Does this tell you everything you need to know about courage? Courage represents a character's inner determination. Player characters start the game with 1 point of courage and can earn more as the game progresses. There's no limit. Earn more as the game progresses by being the scene moderator. There's going to be a lot of page references to come here and put in, even a short book like this. Why? The game progresses, such as by being the scene moderator and passing trouble checks. There is no limit to the number of courage points that can be accumulated, but players will want to spend them, will probably want to spend them to improve the chances he or she is successful at checks involving one of their troubles. That does not have to be it. That could also be a sway check. So he or she is successful at either trouble or sway checks by spending the points to roll extra dice. See checks, page YYY. Okay, so there we go. PH says, yes, it should be clear what exactly sway does. Yeah, so we're about to get there. Oh, hey, Barlow Keep. Oh, we have a new person in the chat. Now, Great Old Ones was here, and I think I've seen you before, Great Old Ones, but I'm not sure. If I have, it has been a while in the chat, in the live chat. If you have been in the live chat, it's been a little while since I've seen you. And so we should do 2 sips here to Great Old Ones and now Barlow Keep. So I got a drink right here. So here is to the Great Old Ones. Welcome to the chat. And then Barlow Keep right here says, hello, people. Just joined through a Discord link, but consider me very intrigued. Well, welcome. It is great to have you, Barlow Keep. Here is to you. Thank you very much for being in the chat this morning. Okay, so that's courage. So that does send you to some other places, but that tells you courage represents a character's inner determination. Player characters start the game with 1 courage point and earn more as the game progresses, such as by being the scene moderator and passing trouble checks. There is no limit to the number of courage points that can be accumulated, but players will probably want to spend them to improve their chances he or she is successful at either trouble or sway checks by spending courage points to roll extra dice. See checks. So it does send you to some more information. Yeah, that's what I thought. Long time, yes. Sunday mornings are a busy morning for me. Well, and I'm trying. I keep saying I'm trying to get back to. We got to get back to a daily morning grind. Maybe not on Saturdays. I'm still thinking about that. But at the moment, I have no time because I'm at the winery, and then when I sit down, I've been working on this book in order to get this Kickstarter going. So it's going to have to be earlier mornings, but we will see. All right. But I think that tells you what courage is. Now, sway. There's some more things that we need to put in our very first section on sway. So as it stands right now, okay, well, first of all, I did a lot of thinking on this, because the way we left it, like actually when we got off the stream yesterday, was that we were discussing this section where you can exchange your sway, or you can give sway to another character in order to get them to do what it is that you want. Player characters with sway can attempt to persuade a target character. Well, we said attempt here because we were like, no, wait, what if the person doesn't want to do what the person says? So we put in this way for you to resist this. So at the moment, we have it written: attempt to persuade a target character to undertake an action that complies with his or her character's desires. And we're like, should this move to courage? But no, it should not. It should not, I don't believe. I think it's the right place for this is sway, because with sway, you have just done something that really impressed your fellow cultists. You're up. You're on a high. And as a result, you're getting bonuses for your characters. A bonus for your characters when you're trying to undertake actions. And you have the special ability to, hey, will you go and do X? You know, we're trying to break into the local butcher shop to get spell components. Okay, I need you to be the distraction. So you're going to go, dress in a clown suit and enter the building. Here's sway. Okay, I'll do it. And that those characters should be impressed by you because you're the one who's up at the moment. So then you got to go and do that, but you get the sway. Now, why would the character want to resist? Well, we did talk briefly yesterday about, like out of game reasons why someone might want to resist. Like, this is basically trouble at the table. Somebody's trying to make somebody do something they don't want to do. And we decided that's probably outside of the scope of the rules. Like dealing with actual out of game trouble at the table is probably not what we need to be talking about as far as the rules go. Some people do, but I think we can just assume that, okay, everybody's getting along at the table. If people are resisting because you actually have trouble at the table, that's a different issue. But so we had written this that, well, what if for narrative reasons the character doesn't feel right about that? That there's some way to resist this. But on the other hand, I got to thinking about this. No, sway is a big deal because you've got you get a free bonus to all of your trouble checks, just like you'd spent a courage point, which can get you more courage points. So having sway is a big deal. So if somebody offers you sway, hey, you're going to go dress up in the clown suit and distract the people at the front desk while we run in, you're getting a big bonus. So it seems unlikely that you're going to resist. Oh, somebody's about to give up sway for you. Yes, that sounds like something that should happen. So that you should take. So this is the right place to put this for the character that's sway. It shouldn't be it shouldn't be some kind of courage bidding thing. Moving it back to courage. I don't think it should be that. So this needs to stay here, but sway needs better information about what this is and how to get it, because this is the very first time that sway is introduced. Well, we do stream on the Table Talk channel, and it's a little bit different kind of show, but we stream on the new Table Talk channel. Tuesday nights at 7:00 p.m. We do that. So, BGD says the sway section looks quite good. It may need a bit of tightening up. It's clear the way it's currently written. I do want to add a few things to it. And PH was saying here, the problem with sway is making a character do something out of character, maybe as revenge for some other previous sway abuse. Tough. Okay. This says sway. When a character has sway, it means that character has the upper hand among their fellow cultists. Perhaps they have impressed the other. We need to talk about immediately how you get it. Okay, we don't, because it's not mentioned how you get it in here, which I think was causing confusion yesterday. Perhaps they have impressed the other characters in some way or otherwise earned their respect. Only one player can have sway at a time, and unlike with courage, characters cannot store sway. A character either has it or they do not. If another player gains sway, it is lost by the other player who had it. Hey, let me put out the Table Talk link, because we kind of spun that off as its own brand. Here we go. Table Talk. Deep conversations in the geekverse. So if you'd like to join us in the evenings, we just had our 100th episode over there. There's a lot of material over there on the geekverse channel, the Table Talk channel. If another player gains sway, then is lost by the player who had it. An easily identifiable token or other object should be used to indicate which player's character has sway at the table. However, if no such token or object is available, sway can be marked on the character sheet. Okay, like this is an important sentence right here. Because the character, so what does that actually do for you? The character with sway rolls an additional die on all trouble checks. Characters gain sway by impressing other characters in some way or otherwise earning their respect. We need to say something about sway skills. Gain sway. They gain sway mechanically when they succeed on a sway check. Every character has a list of sway skills which will allow them to get the edge on other members of the group. By impressing them, impressing the other characters in some way or otherwise earning their respect. Okay, so that's it. Characters gain sway when they succeed on a sway check. See the section on sway checks. Every character has a list of sway skills which will allow them to get the edge on the other members of the group, perhaps by impressing them in some way or otherwise earning their respect. Sway So then let's go right into what that does for you. The character with sway rolls an additional die on all trouble checks. Also, when the game concludes, the character with sway automatically, well, I don't know say the word, but well, we'll fix it later. Automatically has the game conclude, has the game end well for them. That's one way that you can have the game conclude well for you. Also, when the game concludes, one way to ensure the story concludes well for your character is to have sway at the end of the game. And I can send you down to concluding the story. Okay, that's a lot. Sable says it's implicit in the social contract to play an RPG that you're not your character, and in-character conflicts don't transition past the edge of the table. That doesn't always hold up, but it's not something that the rules need to explicitly deal with, in my opinion. I kind of agree with that. If the rules say that sway gives other cultists influence over your character and vice versa, then the understanding is you'll be abiding by the agreement you all made by sitting down at the table and play by these rules and role play accordingly. So Sable says, or PH says, I'm used to play with a very different group of person. I just think this kind of rules light RPG are easily taught to kids. They are less inclined to be mature. Not that they might not be. Yeah. James says Sable nailed it. Okay. So that helps. I think that helps too. So what are we doing with sway? We're getting it when we succeed on a sway check. Every character has a list of sway skills, which allows them to get the edge, which they can use to allow them to get the edge on other members of the group. Also, when the game concludes, one way to ensure the story, when the game ends well for your character, is to have sway at the end of the game. Have sway in the final scene. Well, no, end of the game is fine. That's what we're doing here. Then only one player. So then I think I would put this in here. Now, do we need the ability to resist? Let's see. Then we'll put that down here at the bottom. So then we can say, but also the player character with sway can attempt to persuade a target character to undertake an action that complies with his or her character's desires. I'm going to remove the word attempt here anyway. Can persuade. Describe how your character uses his or her character trait to get the other characters to acquiesce. It could be charm, flattery, sound reasoning, a threat, or anything else, but it very likely will work. The player of the targeted character may choose to comply with the wishes of the sway holder and undertake the desired action. In exchange, the target takes sway from the previous player. Because we'll say because having sway confers so many advantages to the character, I'm going to say really work. Remember, because the character has sway, because they have recently done something, that's I was thinking the same thing yesterday, Anon, when I was thinking about this. Simply offering sway may be enough because it's a big deal. It's a big deal to have it. So simply offering sway may be enough. If it's refused, it simply isn't transferred. Like I think you don't need to buy it back. Like you buy it off with courage because you get advantages if you have sway. If the character wants to reject it, okay, well, there you go. Because they have impressive. And so other characters are predisposed differential to them at the time. Also, because having sway confers so many advantages to the character, the player of the targeted character may choose to comply with the wishes of the sway holder and undertake the desired action. In exchange, the target takes sway from the previous character. So I think we need to not do this courage transfer. Yeah. So people like that. I like that too. Well, I think there's no need to buy it off. The simple refusal, awful refusal, will reinforce the rule's likeness to the self description. Too, it's definitely the most elegant solution. So, alternatively, the player of the target character. Alternatively, there in rare instances, we'll say in rare instances, the player of the target character may not wish to comply with the risk of the sway holder. Perhaps for narrative or role-playing reasons. Ignore this part about courage. But see, in this case, may describe how he or she avoids doing what the sway holder wants, possibly through trickery, manipulation, stubbornness, or other means. The sway holder is rebuffed and retains sway, is rebuffed, but retains sway for later use. Okay. And then only one player can have sway at a time. And unlike with courage, characters cannot store sway. A character either has it or they do not. If another character gains sway, then it's lost by the player who had it. An easily identifiable token or other object should be used to indicate which player character has sway at the table. However, no such token or object is available. Sway can be marked on the character sheet. Okay, seems like we have come to some agreement here. So that's great. PH says, thus, engaging in a ridiculous situation would be something agreed upon instead of an enforced humiliation. Yeah. It would be a funny choice made as a team. Right. Yes. Which goes with the way the low stakes game seems to be going. Players be more comfortable this way. Okay. So let me read that one more time. So from the top to the bottom, see where we are. I'll go and proofread it later. So this looks like where we came up with then. Sway. When a character has sway, it means that character has the upper hand among their fellow cultists. Characters gain sway when they succeed on a sway check. See page. Every character has a list of sway skills which they can use to allow them to get the edge on other members of the group, perhaps by impressing them or otherwise earning their respect. The character with sway rolls an additional die on all trouble checks. Also, when the game concludes, one way to ensure the story ends well for your character is to have sway at the end of the game. But also, the player character with sway can persuade a target character to undertake an action that complies with his or her character's desires. Describe how your character uses his or her character traits to get the other characters to acquiesce. It could be charm, flattery, sound reasoning, a threat, or anything else, but it very likely will work. Remember, the character has sway because they have recently done something impressive to the group, and so other characters are likely predisposed to be differential to them at the time. Because having sway confers so many advantages to the character, the player of the targeted character may choose to comply with the wishes of the sway holder and undertake, will often choose to comply with the wishes of the sway holder and undertake the desired action. In exchange, the target takes sway from the previous player. Alternatively, in rare instances, the player of the target character may not want to comply with the request of the sway holder, perhaps for narrative or role-playing reasons. In this case, the target may decide how he or she avoids doing what the sway holder wants, possibly through trickery, manipulation, stubbornness, or any other means. The sway holder is rebuffed, but retains sway for later use. Only one player can have sway at a time, and unlike with courage, characters cannot store sway. A character either has it or they do not. If another player gains sway, then it's lost by the other player who had it. An easily identifiable token or other object should be used to indicate which player has sway at the table. However, no such token or object is available. It can be marked on the character sheet. All right, I like that. I feel much better about that than when we left off yesterday. Yes, hey, that's a good point. It could be the Elder Dice D2 coins would be a good thing for that. We've got different, and there are even different colors here. So the D2 coins could be used. I put in here also that you probably need some type of marker for the player who has the lead as well. So the lead character could have like a silver coin, one of the D2 coins, and then the sway holder could have another one of the coins. That would be a great use for the coins. Good thinking, Anon. All right, checks. All right, so I like that. I'll read through it again after the stream, but I think that's where we're going. All right, so now let's talk about checks. So we were trying to divide checks here. So checks. Most of the time when a player describes the action his or her character takes, that action is automatically successful. Other players react to it and the story moves forward. However, there are two circumstances where players must roll dice, called making a check, to determine the success or failure of an action. A player must make a check whenever 1, their character attempts to gain sway with their fellow cultists by using one of their sway skills, or 2, when they attempt a task involving one of their troubles. A character may only attempt one check per scene, and only then if it makes sense within the structure of the story being told. For example, the lackey has the sway skill, impress someone with your attention to detail and focus, but if that skill is not relevant to the scene, it cannot be used. Players are free to argue their case if they see some particular way a skill may indeed be relevant. The players should mutually agree as to when the skills can be used and checks should be made. However, the game will be more fun if there's a bias for action and characters are frequently allowed to at least try what they want to do. So to make a check, roll a single 6-sided die and see if it meets or exceeds a difficulty, DC. DCs for trouble checks are always 6. DCs for sway skill checks are always 5. If the die equals or exceeds the DC, the action is successful. Players may improve their character's chance of success in 2 ways. Roll an additional die for every point of courage spent. That sentence is written backwards. Let's start at 4. Oh, wait. For every point of courage spent, the player may roll an additional die. You may spend as many courage points as your character has in his or her reserve. 2, the player with sway rolls an additional die on any trouble check they make. When multiple dice are rolled in a check, at least one die must equal or exceed the DC of the check for the action to be successful. Anytime a check is failed, you must introduce a headache into the game. General rules for checks. I think that works pretty well. General check rules. But then we were going to describe in a little bit greater detail the trouble checks and the sway checks. So trouble checks. Trouble checks are made when a character wants to act against part of their nature that ordinarily makes life different for them. See troubles on page YYY. Trouble checks should only be made when there are clear stakes for the character regarding whether or not they will overcome their trouble. If there would be no significant consequence for giving in to the trouble, then no trouble check should be rolled. So now we have this example here, and our problem yesterday, which I agree with, is that in this example, by failing the trouble check, you're basically being kind of taken out of the scene. And I was wondering if this is a problem. Is this a problem with the trouble checks in general, or is this just an artifact of this particular type of character that we chose with this particular type of trouble? And when I look at other troubles, like give in on something, be friendly and inviting, apologize and mean it, show genuine affection, demonstrate true occult knowledge, break character even when necessary, recognize the true opinions of others. It seems like a lot of these are not taking you out of the scene, like use of modern tech conveniences, conform to social norms. So I don't think that's a systemic problem that we have. But for the conflicted, where are troubles? Resist the temptations of the mundane world. Place the cult above your own needs. Prioritize. Place the cult above your own needs. Prioritize the cult over your mundane interests and friends. Effectively communicate with cultists who do not share your mundane interests. I think that happens to be an artifact of the of that example. What do you think? I think if we rewrote this example, I'm just going to put a note. It probably needs to be rewritten. New example. Because that is a high I mean, that is a high stakes, and this is low stakes, but that's a rather high stakes kind of role to make. Is that character going to be there in the scene? Or, it could be, well, he's going to be there, but he's going to be late. He's going to be critically late and come in at an inopportune moment. Anon says, to be fair, this happens in Blades in the Dark too. The solution is to run 2 scenes. Yeah, in this situation, one thing you could do is just run a scene for Dave. If you don't mind having the party split. In this case. But it may be that the non-cult, that the band members are not player characters. So it would be just Dave. Dave would be doing some solo role-playing here. Well, that's a good point. In this case, that's exactly what the sway holder should do. That's a great point. So Mike sort of agrees. I think this is unique to that trouble and not necessarily a systemic issue. And not only the trouble, but this particular instantiation of the trouble. I was intentionally trying to write something as an example about giving you a reason to roll. Don't just roll for any, dumb little reason. Only roll when it's significant. Well, this is definitely something that's significant. So this one warrants a roll. There are ways to keep them in the scene despite that. Just like Anon was just saying, that if that happens, one way to keep them in the scene would be for the sway holder to give them sway. That would be a way to do it. Yep. So maybe this isn't so bad. If you succeed at a trouble check, your character acts counter to that part of their nature, successfully accomplishes the action in spite of the fact that no one expected to, and the character gains 2 points of courage. If you fail, you must introduce a headache into the game. Okay, so sway checks are made when a player character wants to use one of his or her special sway skills to get a leg up on the other cultists. Now, this says only one player can attempt a sway skill check in a scene. That seems like, so I was wondering if that should be only one player may successfully make a sway skill check in a scene. Because if somebody makes a sway skill check and it fails, why can't somebody else decide to step up and try to do one? Now, there's a priority in this. Because this says, once again, one player can attempt to make a sway skill check during a scene to gain sway. To be eligible to make a skill check, I mean, that does... to be eligible to make a sway check, the character must undertake a narrative action that would garner favorable attention from others or earn their respect, even if only temporarily. The lead has priority in making sway skill checks, followed by the other players. And finally, the scene moderator. These sway skills do not necessarily have to be used against the other player characters. using them to solve a situation with non-player characters in a way that the cultists take note of, in a way that impresses the cultists. It doesn't. I'm using the word impress a lot. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. In a way that the cultists take notice of. Is also acceptable. Or also works. This is probably in here. Why would you decline to try to make a sway check? Maybe just because the scene just does not allow you to use any one of them. PH says maybe only one should be able to do a sway check. If he fails, there should be consequences. I think it makes more narrative sense to improve one's chances to succeed than allowing everyone to try. Oh, I like that. Because it seems like I think the reason why they just have one person do this is because I can see if you got 4 players and you're trying to roll a 5 or a 6 in order to succeed on a sway skill check, and you got 3 possible players or 4 possible, one of them already has sway, so you got 3 possible players, and they can use courage on that as well. They're trying to roll a 5 or a 6. Even without using courage, you got 3 tries to roll a 5 or a 6. That's going to happen a lot. You're going to be, I mean, sometimes it won't happen because dice are dice, but that means that sway would be moving every scene, likely. So this stops that. So it becomes a much bigger deal. All right, here's the sway check. This is what I'm going to try to do. All right. So let's keep it like that then. Only one, and we need to make it a bit more clear about what this priority means. Only one player can attempt a sway check in a scene. I'm going to put next, the lead has priority in doing that. The lead has priority in making a sway, and making the scene's sway skill check. If he or she declines or is unable to make one constraint to the narrative, of the narrative, the other players should and mutually agree on another player to make a check. Finally, only if no other character should the scene moderator make an attempt. We don't, this is the rules light deal, but we don't have any way to help someone. Like, what if you're going to help them? Because we do have that in the Cultists. Dave certainly helps Ben cast his spell. Mike helps with the rituals to help brand Mike and Ben. We don't say anything about you can only use your own courage. I mean, one way to do that is to allow courage to be spent on other players' characters as well, if you're there narratively helping. Plus, you take the spotlight from the character that should have it. Well, at the start of the game, okay, so this is a good question. Why don't you combine these ideas and just mark the lead player by giving them sway at the start of their scene? And I was trying, because at the beginning of the game, the lead has sway. How do you distribute sway at the beginning of the game and the lead? Well, you mutually agree on the lead, and the character who's the lead has sway. It doesn't make sense, because I thought about that too. Like, wait a minute. I was trying to understand that as I was reading the initial rules as well. Does every time you start with a new lead, that character have sway? Well, in order to get sway, you actually have to do something. So the lead is something, that everybody's going to get. That's going around in a circle. Well, it's not really going around in a circle. You choose a new lead. Everybody gets a turn being a lead when the action is going to focus on their character. Sway is something you have to actively go and get. So the lead is your time in the spotlight. Hey, it's my turn to make this scene about me and something cool my character does. And can potentially do by, hey, going and making your sway skill check. I'm thinking, so when I think of the difference between, like, why would you have a lead that does not have sway? Well, I'm thinking of those scenes oftentimes when a character is down. In fact, did I write this down? Yeah, I did. Oh, this is actually something I added yesterday to this. When a scene concludes, the player of that scene's lead selects a new lead for the subsequent scene. The chosen player's character becomes the primary focus of the new scene, with the majority of the action centered on him or her. The chosen character might be one that was harmed or otherwise disgraced in the previous scene, allowing the character to potentially get some retribution on those who wronged him or her. The previous lead transitions to the role of scene moderator for the next scene. So that means I'm thinking, in scenes where, Ben has been, kind of humiliated or disgraced, or he's kind of down, oftentimes the next scene is, okay, what's going to be Ben's response to that? So that's like putting the scene on him, but he doesn't have sway at that point. He's down. Somebody else has got sway. He's down. And now that scene's going to be about how he's going to attempt to get himself back up. So I think that you don't want the lead and sway to always be the same, because sometimes by becoming the lead, you can sort of engineer the scene, and you've got priority in putting the spotlight on you and attempting to get sway. If that made sense. Was that a long ramble? I think that sounded like a long ramble. So Anand says, on the contrary, anyone can automatically solve anyone else's trouble by simply giving them sway, potentially encouraging healthy and wholesome relationships. Yes, I like that. Anand beat me to it. So, okay, so maybe we do not. So we do not need to be giving people courage. You got to have your own courage. Sway could be a currency that makes sense for the leader to have. Yeah, whoever is up, at that time has that. And so they are kind of fulfilling a leader kind of role. Maybe sway is given to the beginning. So that's lead. That's lead, not as in leader of the group. That's lead character in the scene. Maybe sway is given at the beginning of a scene, and courage is something you have to do something to gain. It would go the other way. PH would go the other way. Give sway and use courage. Well, let's see what we got here. So the sway checks. The lead has priority in making the scene sway skill check. If he or she declines or is unable to make one due to constraints of the narrative, the other players may mutually agree on one to attempt the check. Only if no other character is able to attempt a sway check should the scene moderator make an attempt. Because the scene moderator will have been the lead in the previous scene. To be eligible to make a sway check, the character must undertake a narrative action. Did that make sense, James? Right. Sway is a status almost like a condition. Yeah, that's a good point. And so this phraseology kind of comes over from low stakes because you're right. And I guess you can give it up, but courage is more like a meta currency when something happens. Sway is more status-like. It is my courage. I have it or not. But even if I don't have it, it can be able to do something because someone gave me sway. Yeah, I like that. I like the idea that you can use sway. You could use sway to negate somebody else's trouble. You could do that. So does the phraseology of calling sway a meta currency need to go? I think I do want to. I'm going to change this, the order of this. I'll put in an example later. I'll go through and write up an example. But now this says sway checks. Sway checks are made when a player character wants to use one of his or her special sway skills to get a leg up on other cultists. Only one player can attempt a sway skill check in a scene. To be eligible to make a sway check, the character must undertake a narrative action that would garner favorable attention from others or earn their respect, even if only temporarily. Sway skills do not necessarily have to be used against other player characters. Using them to solve a situation with non-player characters in a way the cultists take note of also works. The lead has priority in making the scene sway skill check. I like this puts a lot of emphasis on it. All right, we're going to make the check for this scene. If he or she, and that also allows the character to have sway throughout multiple scenes. So if a character has sway, it's not impossible that they'll maintain sway over several scenes if nobody else can step up and take it from them. If he or she declines or is unable to make one due to the constraints of the narrative, the other players may mutually agree on one to attempt on another. They mutually agree on another one. To attempt the check. Only if no other character is able to attempt a sway check should the scene moderator make an attempt. Let me write that back. The scene moderator, however, should only attempt a sway check if no other character is able to. Do I need to say, and you can't have double sway? We say you either have it or you don't. I think it makes sense. Honestly, a play test to compare would be pretty beneficial, and that would take time. Well, we're going to do that. We're going to do that. See, what I think we should do during the advertising lead up, I'm going to put this together as a beta package, play test package, play test and review. I wanted to be able to have some physical copies of this for play test and review, but this is taking too long. So I'm not going to be able to do physical review versions. We'll just do a physical version at the end. But in those weeks leading up to the actual launch of the campaign, I think we should be doing, and we could even be doing during the campaign some, I think we should do some playtest games. Absolutely. I think that'd be fun. Anon says, I just had a crazy idea. What if instead of a die bonus, you can in some way make your trouble everyone else's problem too? Instead of a die bonus? What if instead of a, so now you can drag the entire cult with you to band rehearsal because you need a ride there anyway, which is hilarious. I'm not sure what instead of what die bonus, because of if you have sway. Oh, maybe you're talking about because sway gives you the die bonus on a trouble check. So if you have sway, you're saying maybe you could make that trouble everybody else's problem too, like dragging the entire cult with you to band rehearsal. Also, when the game concludes, I want to let me bold this because you don't want to miss this. The character with sway rolls an additional die on all trouble checks. I'm going to think about that. We're using the conflicted a lot in our examples. So like dragging the whole band to band practice does look pretty cool. But like what are the troubles of the dandy? Show humility, empathize with others, do anything low key, be helpful without reward. Those are more difficult to have somebody else's problem. The dancing nature of that. Okay, so I just wanted to put in the example, but now we say sway checks. Sway checks are made when a player character wants to use one of his or her special sway skills to get a leg up on the other cultists. Only one player can attempt a sway skill check in a scene. To be eligible to make a sway check, the character must undertake a narrative action that would garner favorable attention from others. Must take a narrative action. I need to say associated with that skill. That may be implied. Maybe I'm too wordy. I think BGD was saying that. With that skill. To be eligible to make a sway check, the character must undertake a narrative action associated with that skill that would garner favorable attention from others or earn their respect, even if only temporarily. Sway skills do not necessarily have to be used against the other player characters. Using them to solve a situation with other non-player characters in a way that the cultists take note of also works. The lead has priority in making the scene's sway skill check. If he or she declines or is unable to make one due to the constraints of the narrative, the other players may mutually agree on another player to attempt the check. The scene moderator, however, should only attempt a sway check if no other character is able to do so. Insert example, and perhaps in this case, the critic has the sway skill persuade someone through harsh criticism, so we can come up with an example here. If you succeed at a sway skill check, your character gains sway among the cultists. The character who previously had sway loses it. If you fail, you must introduce a headache into the game. If you fail, you must introduce a headache into the game. Okay. I like how we're going here. Headaches. Okay, let's go over here. Well, do anything low key is an obvious one. Yes. Yes. Instead of losing the die roll, maybe magnifying your trouble to cover the entire group can happen when the lead is able to obtain sway. This will also provide justification for the lead not always getting sway at the top of their scene. I may not be completely understanding here. And it really drives the social interaction of playing for sway, which I think we need to do. So instead of losing the die roll. So what if, so you're talking about if you've got lead and if you're the lead and you're trying to fight your trouble and you fail, maybe magnifying your trouble to cover the entire group can happen when the lead is able to, so we're talking about this lead sway divide. I'm not exactly sure what was, I'm not exactly following in the chat. Let's go through headaches, asides, and see if we're concluding this story. So a headache presents a fresh challenge, setback, or hurdle that adds complexity to the story for individual characters or the entire group of cultists. Players have the freedom to introduce complications into the game whenever they choose, but are obligated to do so when a check fails. The specifics of the headache is left to the discretion of the player, though they may seek suggestions from fellow players if desired. The range of potential headaches is bound only by the player's creativity, though it's generally advisable for headaches to start small and escalate in significance as the game unfolds. For ideas on potential headaches, players can refer to the headaches table located at the end of this book. So I started writing that out too. We do have a table of headaches, and I need some more. I posted these in the Discord server. We can look at these later, but I wanted, because we talk about this on the grind all the time about trying to come up with something like some kind of complication on the fly. So at least here's a table of them you can roll, or you can look at this and gain some inspiration. So that's what a headache is. Okay. So James is saying, I'm saying that a mechanic of the lead obtaining sway would be the option to drag the whole cult to band practice. That you can, you can only incorporate other players into your trouble if you are lead and then also get sway for that scene. The role can remain. Everything else about sway can remain the same. But if you are the lead and obtain sway, then it can be a larger impact on the group and scene. I see. If you're the lead and obtain sway, then your trouble can have a larger impact on the group scene. Okay, let me make note of that. Well, that might go up here under sway. See James' idea on lead characters bringing their trouble to the group. I would think on that. No, that's it. That's good about dragging people into your headaches. So what makes it? It makes it more rare, which is good. All right, I like that too. All right, I'll think about how to write that. And it would drive playing for sway because the lead will always want to get it, but the player with sway might not want to give it up. Yeah, the lead likely will always want to get it. You would expect that the lead. I'm expecting like 90% of the time, 80% of the time more, that the lead. And I want to write in more about the lead here setting up the scene. And if you're setting up the scene, then you would be setting up the scene in order for you to at least make the attempt to get sway. How are you going to try to do this? And that's actually, we need to talk more about that, driving the narrative of the scene. I need to add that in. And while at band practice, the band replaces the conflicted with one of the other cult members. Hilarity ensues. Oh, okay. So actually, no, up here. See, up here. Okay, so this needs more. Okay, I've skipped way back up the top because this is what I thought we were going toward this. This needs I keep thinking I'm almost done here. This needs more to give the lead more control over the scene. So this is determining the scene. This is up higher. The lead rolls 2 6-sided dice and sums the dice rolls. And sums them. Consult the beat sheet scene list to affect the scene, to select the scene being played. If the die roll repeats during the game, the lead may choose to move up or down 1 number to the next unplayed scene. Alternatively, the lead may make up an entirely original scene. This needs to have more added to it to make sure that you know the lead, or to make sure that the lead has more ability to set up and construct the scene. Because maybe you are down, you do not have sway, you just got the lead, so you're going to construct a scene so that you can use one of your sway skills to try to get sway back from the other characters. So that needs to be more clear and obvious, that one of the advantages of being the lead is that you get to construct the scene. And that's why that's going to rotate, so that everybody's got a spotlight, and everybody has an attempt then to kind of set themselves up to get sway. Let's try to go through these, and then we might beat this. James says, I love using the filmographer's lexicon to name tools and situations of the game, the beat sheets. Yes. That was a change from low stakes. Where's the low stakes? Because your beat sheet tells you what your story is going to be. Not, let's see, low stakes. Low stakes called it a story outline. So, choose a story outline, which is going to tell you what your story is. But I was like, okay, let's do something other than story outline. Let's get out the beat sheet. So the beat sheets can tell you where you need to go. And I do like, we haven't gotten to that quite yet, but I do like the way that he set that up. With the 2 D6s. So we'll get to that maybe later. Maybe tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to stream Wednesday morning because I'm getting to play Hero Quest with my nephews. I'm going to go over to my brother's house Tuesday night, since we're not streaming for Table Talk. I got a Table Talk scheduled, one of the pre-recorded Table Talks. I'm going over to my brother's house Tuesday night to play games with he and his wife, and then I'm just going to stay over there at their house. And then Wednesday morning, I'm going to play Hero Quest with my nephews, because I haven't been able to do that because I've been all over the place. And they're out of school now, so I'm playing Hero Quest on Wednesday morning. So I won't be able to do a Wednesday morning stream. So we'll see. But we got to start. We got to get back to this in a better way. PH says, we do something in my group when it's my time to act and somebody is talking, stop and say, hey, it's my time to shine. Everyone laughs, but it works. The lead has to shine. Right. Then the cult decides to start their own band called the Cult, but it's already a band with that name. Well, you need to come in and play. Okay, let me go back at headache. So a headache presents a fresh challenge, setback, or hurdle that adds complexity to the story for individual characters or for the entire group of cultists. Players have the freedom to introduce complications into the game whenever they choose, but are obligated to do so when a check fails. The specifics of the headache is left at the discretion of the player, though they may seek suggestions from fellow players if desired. The range of potential headaches is bound only by the player's creativity, though it's generally advisable for the headaches to start small and escalate in significance as the game unfolds. For ideas on potential headaches, players can refer to the headaches table located at the end of this book. An aside. An aside is a moment where your character addresses an imaginary audience, providing additional insight into the ongoing narrative. Optionally, these scenes may also manifest as inner monologues or soliloquies. When playing out an aside, your character may reveal previously undisclosed information, hint at future events, or playfully mock themselves and others. Asides are intended to interject unpredictability into the story, challenging you and fellow players to adapt. During any scene involving your character, you have the option to interrupt and transition to an aside. Check one of the three aside types on your character sheet and proceed with your revelation. We need those types to be listed right here. So the types of asides are these right here. Each character has 3 types of asides they may enact during the game. Asides may, 1, uncover a hidden truth. Hint at future events. Or 2, tease or jest at another player's expense. And which are, let's say, which are I was thinking about the Blue Oyster Cult. Well, I think it works for this one here because it's based on a web show. It might work in other situations as well, but that's what I was thinking here. That's why I went with it. Which are, 1, uncover a hidden truth. Hint at future events, or tease or jest at another character's expense. Each type, a player may only enact one, each type of aside once during a game. Check one of the 3 aside types on the character sheet. Check off. The aside type to be enacted on your character sheet and proceed with your revelation. If the aside results in adversity for your character, describe their failure or suffering. If the aside results in adversity for your character, describe their failure or suffering. Your character gains 2 courage points. If the aside adversely affects another character, introduce an applicable headache into the scene. The character making the aside gains 1 courage point. Once the aside concludes, we need to actually add some difficulty to the character. Describe their failure or suffering and a new and describe their failure and suffering. Their failure or suffering. Your character gains 2 courage points. So this is something you can do yourself to get them. Describe their failure or suffering. And possibly new complications to deal with as a result. Your character gains 2 points of courage. If the aside adversely affects another character, introduce an applicable headache into the scene. The character making the aside gains 1 point of courage. Once the aside concludes, resume the ongoing scene and continue gameplay. Each player may enact only one of each type of aside per game. Oh, I said that up there. I'll delete it up here. In games with numerous players or with shorter story durations, all players may not be able to enact all 3 of their asides. So that's an important part of this too. One of the reasons that I liked low stakes, because the Cultists has got this. So I said, concluding the story. As the game progresses, there will come a point where the storyline seems near its resolution, signaling the game's impending conclusion. When this moment arrives, the player possessing sway may choose to initiate the conclusion of the story. However, before the scene concludes, he or she declares this to the rest of the players at the table. To the other players. However, before the scene concludes, another player has the opportunity to attempt to gain sway. The challenger must make a sway skill check. It is free to spend courage points if he or she has any available. The player with sway may also expend courage to counter each point spent by the challenger. Every point of courage spent by the sway holder cancels one spent by the challenger, although the challenger must always roll at least one die. One other player has the opportunity to attempt to gain sway, let's say in a narratively appropriately dramatic narrative act. Involving his or her sway skills. Sway skill. A player with sway may also extend courage to counter each point spent by the challenger. Every point of courage spent by the sway holder cancels 1 point spent by the challenger, although the challenger must always roll at least one die. We'll say that the players should mutually agree on which player should attempt this last-ditch should attempt this dramatic this last-ditch effort to wrest sway from the current character. The story will move to its conclusion regardless of the outcome of the final check, but the way it concludes will change. Players should craft a finale where things ultimately work out well for the character holding sway and those who successfully pass checks involving one of their troubles at any time during the game. Things ultimately work out. So you compete for sway, but also you are trying to succeed at a trouble check. The other characters face a less favorable conclusion marked by embarrassment, failure, or some other adverse outcome. Playing with a game master, an optional rule. Because low stakes is set up to be GM-less. I now said GM optional, so I kept the original idea that low stakes is GM-less. That's why you've got the rotating scene moderator. But then I also said playing with a game master, an optional rule. Even though the Cultists RPG is designed to be played without a game master, some groups may be more comfortable with having a player adjudicate the game in the style of a more traditional role-playing game. The Cultists RPG can accommodate this style of play with minimal revision to the rules. Instead of having players rotate into the role of the scene moderator, the players may have one person adopt the role for the entire game. Rather than having a player character, the scene moderator role plays the extras and NPCs in the scene and takes on a greater role in adjudicating the success or failure of the player character's actions and what the result is. The scene moderator will also determine when making a check is necessary. Whenever it is time to consult the beat sheet, the scene moderator can roll for the scene or choose the next scene that makes the most logical or comedic sense for the story. Scene moderators with a greater grasp of story, a deeper grasp of story and greater improvisational abilities may forego the beat sheet and develop the story on the fly as the game progresses. Some people may want to be permanent scene moderators because they have a vision for an entirely new story or situation for the players to engage with. That can be an excellent way to play. However, game masters shouldn't spend too long prepping for a game of the Cultists RPG. Games are intended to be focused on how the characters respond to their initial ridiculous situation, with further scenes being highly driven by their characters' actions, by the actions their characters take in response. Resist the urge to railroad the players with a predetermined story arc. Let the game go where the hijinks takes it. And then playing a campaign. I really liked this section too. So playing a campaign. The Cultist RPG is often played as a one-off or one-shot game, with players coming together for a single session, selecting characters, and then playing out a standalone narrative arc. However, some groups may want to play the same characters over the course of several games. This will allow them to not only more deeply develop their characters, but also weave a longer story, much in the same way multiple episodes of a web series can form a longer story arc. The Cultist RPG does not have a method to level up or advance a character like some other RPGs, but it does have a mechanism for character change, because the same character can be played with different narrative roles. And this is one of those things that I think could be adopted to other role-playing games as well. For instance, arguably, Rob plays multiple different narrative roles during the Cultists, including the Grump, the Critic, and the Fanatic, but often a single episode focuses on only one of these roles. Likewise, Acantha is both the Metachromism and the Caretaker. Ben begins as the Novitiate, but becomes a true believer. Therefore, players are free to keep the same character for a future session, but switch up which narrative role they play based on the changing situations of the story. That sounds like fun to me. Switching narrative roles may often be driven by the events in a previous game session. A character might originally show up as a skeptical LARPer, but then have a family crisis that causes him to lean further into the cult and become a novitiate, and then be tempted back to the mundane world, playing the role of the conflicted, and then finally having a personal religious experience that causes him to become a fanatic. Even comedic stories can address serious themes and explore serious topics. In fact, humor is often a great way to explore topics that one might not want to address more directly. The Cultists involve themes of belonging, grieving the loss of a friend, and personal growth. Players who wish to explore such topics may find that embracing character change across play sessions is an important tool. All right. So that would conclude all of the mechanical parts of the game. Then we would go into character creation, which we've already worked a lot on. So that's not quite finished because I need to write in an example for the sway skill check. Right up here, we had some additional ideas about sway and how that causes the trouble, your trouble, to impact the whole group. And I also need to write some more to make it clear that the lead needs more influence here in determining the scene. So I need to roll. I thought I was done with that section before getting this together. So I need to finish that determining the scene, though, and then that. And then I'm going to start working through character creation again, because we've got character creation, and I especially want to make sure that all of the troubles are written out well. But we basically are, I think we basically online, we already went through all the different types of narrative roles, and we had started going through all of the cults. And now I know that that's not finished yet, because we need some more suggested powers. And then we still get, man, there's still so much to do. I got to sit here and work on this, because then we need to actually put together some of use this material to put together pre-generated characters from the show. And then the beat sheets, that's going to be a big thing. And I got to finish my table of headaches. Okay, I guess I need to sit here and write for 6 hours since I'm not working today. Let's see. What it was, PH says, I just pictured the situation where everyone agrees that someone is the best equipped to do an action. That character is Z. Even he agrees. So everybody says at the same time as a ritual. Patrick Swayze. on a very special episode of The Cultists, brought to you by Hallmark. Well, that's switching narrative roles. I thought we did that. So it's like when you're playing a campaign, you are switching between your narrative roles. You can switch between your narrative roles, which is like your archetype, but from game to game. Okay, so this is still my big hurdle right now. This is the big rock I've got to move, because I need to be able to get this to at least a situation where we can do, we can put together the playtest beta review packet. Will they have a whole new list of troubles, or they retain troubles in the previous archetype? Yeah, no, you would change. You would change if you change from the critic to the dandy, then you end up with new troubles and sway skills. So I need to say that specifically. Because that's part of it. I mean, a huge part of your narrative roles are, well, basically all of your narrative role is your trouble and your sway skills. This is what it says here. But therefore, players are free to keep the same character for a future session, but switch up which narrative role they play based on the changing situation of the story. So I should say they retain their cult affiliation, but adopt the troubles and sway skills of the new narrative role. But I mean, I guess there's nothing wrong. There's nothing that says you can't change cult. They retain their cult affiliation, unless for some reason that's changed too. But adopt the troubles, but select the troubles and sway skills. Troubles and sway skills from the list of the new narrative role. James says, okay, yeah, simple as that. Maybe state it specifically. Then again, maybe I'm being obtuse. So now there we go. Now it probably needed to be stated. So there we go. So there we go. When you're changing narrative roles, you're picking up the new troubles and the new sway skills. You only need to add or remove sway troubles, not switch archetypes entirely. Well, if you know these are your character sheets. So, you know, if you're holding on the critic and you say, you know, this is Rob. Now I want to make a new Rob. But, you know, because now he's going to be the fanatic. Just hand me the fanatic sheet and make that one Rob, I think. Because there isn't that much on the sheet. I mean, there isn't that much on a character sheet. Okay. All right. Well, this has been fantastic, everybody. So I'm not sure when we will meet again. Hopefully it's not all the way until Sunday again. Who knows? But I have got to finish writing this, but I won't be able to stream Wednesday morning. We'll have a pre-recorded, I forget what it might be, John Wick or something like that on Tuesday that we're talking about on the Table Talk channel. So anyway, so everybody, please do like the stream wherever you are. I noticed that we got about 30 people watching right now across a bunch of different platforms. So wherever you are watching this, please do like it and share it out. This is great. Please do. I guess we also, if you were here, we were able to launch the Kickstarter Notify Me page. Let me put that up. So this is where this is coming. So the Kickstarter page, Notify Me page, is up. So here is the link. Hit that and go to the notification. That way you'll be notified when this is live on Kickstarter. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Go forth, be creative, be constructive, and grind on. Later.